Welcome to the Parkrun Brief, the weekly parkrun training podcast, where I break down what we've published this week on parkruntraining.co.nz and turn it into practical coaching advice you can use this Saturday. Kia ora, I'm Coach Ray. I am a running coach who specialises in coaching beginner and recreational athletes to achieve their sporting as well as their health and fitness goals. Now, rounding out this week, we have the Sunday reset, from stiff to smooth, how to reset your running form on Sundays. Now, by Sunday, most runners feel it. Not injured, not broken, just a little off. The legs are tired, the stride feels slightly clunky. Movements that felt natural on Wednesday now feel like they need a bit more effort. That's normal. After a week of running, and especially after a parkrun effort, your body carries fatigue. And when fatigue builds, your running form quietly shifts with it. You don't always notice it happen, but you feel the result. Sunday is your chance to reset that. Not by forcing perfect technique or overthinking every movement, but by gently restoring the movement, the rhythm and flow that makes running feel smooth again. Why form feels off after a week of running? Running form isn't something you set and forget. It's a reflection of how your body feels. When you're fresh, posture is taller, stride feels lighter, arms swing naturally. When fatigue builds, small changes creep in. Shoulders tighten, cadence drops slightly, stride length reaches instead of flows, foot strike becomes heavier. None of this means your technique is wrong, just means your body needs a reset. Start with movement, not correction. The biggest mistake runners make when thinking about form is trying to fix everything at once. Lift your knees, shorten your stride, relax the arms. That quickly becomes overwhelming and often makes things feel worse. Instead, start by simply moving. A short, easy walk or relaxed jog helps the body find its natural rhythm again without pressure. Let your stride settle before you try to change things. Loosen the areas that restrict flow. Stiffness is one of the main reasons form feels off. On Sunday, focus on gently freeing the areas that tend to tighten. Calves and ankles, hips and hip flexors, glutes, upper back and shoulders. You don't need a long session, just a few moments of light mobility and stretching can make a noticeable difference. Think of it as removing resistance, not forcing improvement. Reconnect with rhythm. Good running form often feels less like a position and more like a rhythm. Once your body is moving freely, bring your attention to light, quick steps, relaxed shoulders, and a natural arm swing. You're not trying to run fast, you're just reminding your body what smooth movement feels like. Sometimes it helps to imagine running quietly, as if you're trying not to make a sound with each step. Use one simple cue, not 5 of them. If you do want a form cue, keep it simple. One cue is enough. Examples might be light feet, relax the shoulders, quick steps. Pick the one that feels most natural to you. Too many cues create tension, one cue creates awareness. Carry the feeling into the week. The goal of a Sunday reset isn't to perfect your form, it's to restore a feeling of lightness, relaxation, and rhythm. When you start Monday with that feeling, your running often improves without needing conscious correction. And over time, that's how form develops. Not through constant fixing, but through consistent, relaxed repetition. Smooth running starts with a reset. You don't need to overhaul your technique. You don't need to analyze every step. You just need to give your body a chance to move well again. Sunday is that opportunity. From stiff to smooth doesn't happen through effort. It happens through awareness. Reset the body, restore the rhythm, let the form flow. Now on Saturday morning, for the Saturday Spark, had the topic why runners plateau and how you break through. Every park runner hits it at some point. You show up each week, you're training consistently, you're putting in the effort, but your time doesn't move. Welcome to the plateau. It's frustrating, but it's also completely normal. And more importantly, it's fixable. Why plateaus happen? A plateau isn't a sign something is wrong. It's usually a sign that your body has adapted to the current training. What used to challenge you no longer does. Common causes include running at the same pace every week, doing similar sessions without progression, turning easy runs into steady runs. Not enough recovery between efforts, lack of focused intent in training. In simple terms, your training is maintaining your fitness, not building it. The hidden trap, comfortable consistency. Consistency is important, but there's a difference between productive consistency, building fitness, and comfortable consistency, staying the same. If every run feels familiar, predictable, and manageable, you might be stuck in maintenance mode, and maintenance doesn't lead to breakthroughs. How to break through. Breaking a plateau doesn't require a complete overhaul. It requires small, targeted changes. Here are 3 simple ways to move forward. Number 1, change the stimulus. Give your body something new to adapt to. This could be adding short intervals, including hill efforts, slightly increasing volume, varying your pacing strategy. It doesn't need to be extreme, just different. Number 2, protect your easy runs. One of the biggest plateau causes is running easy days too hard. When your easy runs are truly easy, you recover better. Your quality sessions improve and your overall training becomes more effective. Easy running supports progress, not just recovery. And number 3, add intent to your parkrun. Instead of running parkrun the same way each week, give it purpose. Try controlled first kilometre pacing, negative splits, holding steady effort through the middle, or finishing strong without fading. When you train your execution, not just your effort, performance improves. What happens next? When you apply these changes, your body starts adapting again. Your confidence increases, your pacing improves, your results begin to shift. Not overnight, but consistently. That's how plateaus are broken. Saturday Spark takeaway. If you feel stuck, remember this. Plateaus are normal. They mean your body has adapted and progress requires change, not just effort. Change the stimulus, protect your recovery, run with intention. Your next breakthrough is closer than you think. Have a great park run. All right, so the Friday fast track, 4x4 minute 30 threshold runs. Threshold work is where strong, consistent parkrun performances are built. It teaches you to sit right on the edge where the effort feels demanding but still under control. This Friday fast track session uses slightly shorter than 5-minute intervals with brief recoveries, making a great way to accumulate quality work while staying smooth and composed. Warm up, 10 minutes at level 2, easy relaxed running. Main set, 4x4 minutes 30 at level 4, threshold effort. 1 minute at level 2, recovery jog between reps. Cool down, 10 minutes at level 2, and post run, 10 minutes gentle stretching. Why this works for parkrun. This session gives you a solid block of training, a solid block of threshold running without making the intervals too long that you lose focus or form. The short recoveries keep pressure on the aerobic system and teach you to settle quickly back into strong running. For parkrunners, this workout helps you build sustainable speed, improve your ability to hold pace under fatigue, raise your lactate threshold, develop focus and rhythm through repeated efforts, and reduce late race fade. It's a session that rewards control. Done well, it leaves you feeling strong, not smashed. How it should feel. It should be firm and purposeful, not frantic. Breathing is deep and controlled. You can say a short phrase, but not much more. The final rep feels tough, but you should still be holding form. If pace starts to drift too high in the early reps, pull it back. Threshold is about repeatable quality, not chasing speed. My tip is to think about locking in to a rhythm early in each rep. Avoid surging the first minute, instead settle into the effort, relax your shoulders and focus on smooth running all the way through. This is exactly the kind of discipline that helps you run a smarter, stronger parkrun. Want to finish your next parkrun feeling stronger and more in control? Grab my free guide, Strength for Parkrun, a quick routine to finish your 5K better. The link is down in the description. It's a simple, effective strength session you can add after any run, including today's Friday fast track workout. How elite runners prepare for a 5K and what park runners can learn. Watch the start of a professional 5K race and you'll notice something interesting. Long before the athletes step onto the start line, they're already moving. They're jogging, they're doing short strides, they're shaking out their legs. In other words, they're preparing. Elite runners rarely arrive at the start line cold. They know that a 5K begins at a pace that is already close to their physiological limit, and their bodies need to be ready before the race even starts. Yet at parkrun each weekend, the opposite often happens. Many runners arrive, chat during the briefing, shuffle towards the start line, and then suddenly try to run their fastest 5K of the week. No warm up, no preparation, then the first kilometre feels rough and uncomfortable. The difference between these two approaches isn't talent, it's preparation, and there are a few simple lessons park runners can borrow from elite runners that can make a big difference to how the start of a run feels. Why the first kilometre often feels hard. If you ever wondered why the opening minutes of parkrun can feel so uncomfortable, you're not imagining it. Most runners start the event too cold. They go from standing still during the briefing straight into race pace. The body hasn't had time to adjust to the intensity of running yet, so breathing spikes and the legs feel heavy. I explain this pattern in more detail in why most park runners struggle in the first kilometre and how to fix it. There's a link within the article for that. The key idea is simple. When the body is prepared before the run begins, the early stages of a 5K feel far more controlled. That's why elite runners invest so much attention in their warm-up routines. Elite runners treat the race as a continuation. One of the biggest differences between elite runners and recreational runners is how they think about the start of the race. For elite runners, the race is not the beginning of their effort. It's a continuation of it. By the time they line up at the start line, they've usually spent 20 to 30 minutes moving. Their muscles are warm, their breathing has stabilized, their nervous system is primed for running. That preparation allows them to settle into rhythm quickly once the race begins. At parkrun, you don't need a 30-minute warm-up to achieve the same effect, but you do need a few minutes of structured preparation. Gradually increase the intensity. Another thing you'll notice when watching elite runners warm up is that their intensity gradually increases. They don't jump straight from easy jogging to race pace. Instead, they begin with relaxed running before introducing a few short efforts close to race pace. These short efforts activate the neuromuscular system so that the body recognizes the intensity during the race. Without this step, race pace can feel like a sudden shock. That's exactly why the warm-up routine described in the perfect parkrun warm-up step by step, there's a link for that down in the description, includes a few short efforts at level 4 before the start. These short efforts prepare your body for the pace you're about to run. Rhythm is everything in a 5K. Elite runners understand something that recreational runners often discover through experience. The sooner you settle into rhythm, the easier the race becomes. The first kilometre of a 5K is really about running as fast as possible. It's about finding a sustainable rhythm that you can maintain and gradually build upon. If you start too aggressively while your body is still adjusting to the effort, the run quickly becomes uncomfortable. But when your body is already prepared, rhythm arrives much sooner. It's one of the biggest advantages of a proper warm-up. Preparation builds confidence. There's also a mental benefit to warming up properly. When you arrive at the start line, already warm and moving well, you feel ready. You're not guessing how the run will feel. You already know. Your breathing is under control, your stride feels smooth, your body has already experienced the pace you're about to run. That confidence makes the opening part of the run far more comfortable. What park runners can learn from this? The lessons from elite runners is actually very simple. You don't need to copy their exact routines. You can borrow the principles. Move before the start, gradually increase intensity, prepare your body for race pace. These small adjustments can completely change how the beginning of your run feels. Try this at your next park run. Before your next park run, arrive a little earlier and spend a few minutes preparing your body to run. Start with relaxed jogging, then include a few short efforts close to your expected park run pace. Finish your warm up just before the briefing so that you arrive at the start line warm and ready to go. You may find that the first kilometre suddenly feels calmer and more controlled. Download the parkrun warm-up routine. If you'd like a simple guide that you can follow before parkrun each week, I've put together a short resource that explains the routine I recommend to runners. You can download that with the link in the description. It takes less than 2 minutes to read and can make a big difference to how your next parkrun begins. Start slower to finish faster. There's a moment in almost every parkrun where the same mistake plays out. The countdown finishes, everyone surges forward, and within the first couple of 100 meters, the pace is already too hot. It feels good at the time, but it feels like you are on it. But more often than not, that fast start comes at a cost. The early mistake that shows up later. The problem with starting too fast isn't what happens in the first kilometre, it's what happens in the third and the fourth and the fifth. When you go out harder than your current fitness allows, you're effectively borrowing energy from later in the run. And eventually that bill becomes due. That's when the rhythm breaks. That's when the breathing becomes ragged. That's when the pace starts to drift. And instead of racing, you're managing fatigue. What a better start looks like. A well-paced parkrun really feels dramatic early. In fact, it often feels a little bit controlled, maybe even slightly conservative. That's a good sign. The goal in the 1 kilometre or the first kilometre isn't to prove anything. It's to settle into a pace you can sustain. You're finding your rhythm, you're letting the field spread out, you're giving your body time to come up to speed. If you get this part right, everything that follows becomes easier to manage. The shift that changes everything. The real difference shows up later in the run. When you start well, you arrive at the third and fourth kilometre still in control. You're not fighting the pace, you're working with it. That's when you start to move forward. You begin catching runners who went out too hard. You stay mentally engaged instead of hanging on, and you give yourself the chance to finish properly. That's where better performances are built. A simple way to apply it. Next time you line up at parkrun, try this. In the first kilometre, hold yourself back slightly. Not dramatically, just enough that feels controlled rather than forced. Let people go if they surge early. Settle into your own rhythm. Focus on how the pace feels, not just what the watch says. If you hit the 2 kilometre mark feeling like you've got something left to give, you've probably got it right. What to expect? Might feel strange the first time you do this. It might feel like you're giving away time early. But in most cases, you'll get that time back and more in the second half of the run. Because a strong finish is almost always built on a smart start. Bring it back to Saturday. Parkrun rewards patience. Not just fitness, not just effort, but judgment. And one of the simplest ways to improve your performance is to get that opening kilometre right. Start with control, build with intent, finish with purpose. That's how you turn a good run into a better one. Lessons from my first parkrun. I didn't plan to win, but then I went for it. My first ever parkrun. This week's parkrun progress report is a little different. Instead of reviewing another runner, I'm going back to my first ever parkrun, run at the Sage Foundation Parkrun during the Invictus Games in Toronto. I wasn't there to race. I was part of the coaching staff for the New Zealand Invictus Games team, and I simply wanted to get out and experience parkrun and run the best 5K I could. But somewhere around the 2K mark, things changed. The run at a glance. It was a simple out and back course. 2.5 kilometres out, 2.5 kilometres back. My splits were first kilometre 3:42, second kilometre 3:44, third kilometre 3:37, fourth kilometre 3:59, and the final stretch, about 800 metres, was at 3:55 pace. Course measured slightly short on my watch, 4.79 kilometres, but the pattern of the run is what matters here. The first half, controlled and patient. I didn't know who was in the field. I didn't know what level people would be at. So I did what I'd recommend any runner do in that situation. I ran my own race. The first 2 kilometres were controlled. Steady power, about 400 watts. Stable cadence, about 175 to 176. Heart rate was building gradually. No panic, no surge, no chasing, just settling into the rhythm. The moment everything changed. Around the 2K mark, I realised I was sitting in second place. And more importantly, the gap to the runner in front, Ian, didn't look impossible. That's when the mindset shifted. This was no longer just run the best 5K I can. It became, I think I can catch him. The surge. At the turnaround, I committed. Third kilometre dropped to 3:37, and that's where the race really began. This wasn't a reckless sprint. It was a deliberate move. Close the gap, apply pressure, see what happens. And it worked. I caught him. The cost of the move. But here's the thing about surges. You always pay for them. The fourth kilometre dropped to 3:59. Power fell away slightly. Heart rate climbed. The effort caught up. This is where a lot of runners either blow up completely or panic when the race drops. But this is also where race awareness matters. The final stretch, holding on. Once I'd made the move, the goal changed again. Now it was about holding position, not gaining more time. The final stretch settled at around 3:55 pace. Not my fastest running of the day, but controlled enough to stabilise the effort, maintain form, and keep the lead. That's the difference between attacking and defending in a race. What this run really shows. Looking back, it wasn't a perfectly paced 5K. If I'd run it purely as a time trial, the pacing would have been smoother. The overall time might have been slightly faster, but that wasn't the situation. This was a race or a run that evolved mid-race. The key lesson, there's a difference between racing the clock and racing a person. When you're racing the clock, even pacing is king. Minimize variation, stay controlled. When you're racing a person, decisions matter, timing matters, and sometimes you have to take a risk. That's exactly what happened here. The bigger takeaway for park runners. Most runners go into a park run thinking, I'll just run my own race. And that's a great plan until you find yourself chasing someone, being chased, or sitting in a position you didn't expect. That's when parkrun becomes more than just a run. It becomes a race, and how you respond in that moment can define your performance. Do you want help with your own parkrun strategy? If you want to improve your pacing, make smarter decisions during your run, and finish stronger every Saturday, Parkrun Kickstart is designed to help you do exactly that. Join the Parkrun Kickstart with the link in the description. And if you'd like your own run reviewed in a future Parkrun progress report, apply with the link that's also in the description. Ka kite anō, and all the best for your next parkrun.